Hai, Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. So for this video, kita akan tengok chapter 11, Amine. And there are few subtopic yang kita akan cover. And in this video, we will cover introduction to amine and also nomenclature for amine. Right, so here are the learning outcome. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to draw the structure of amine and classify them into primary, secondary and also tertiary amine. Next, kita akan tengok nomenclature. You should be able to draw the structure and name the aliphatic and aromatic amine according to IUPAC nomenclature. And then next, give the common name with parent chain less than carbon 5 and apply the IUPAC rule to name the primary, secondary and tertiary amine. So amines, there are organic derivative untuk ammonia. So you have ammonia and H3 here, and you just replace the hydrogen with alkyl group, ataupun you can also replace with aryl group. Okay, the functional group is amino, where you have the NH2 part of your compound. And this is the example of aliphatic amine, where R is your alkyl group. And kalau aromatic amine, this is aryl, so you have benzene ring attached to your NH2. Okay, so ini adalah aromatic amine. Okay, now kita akan tengok classification of amine. So untuk classification of amine, we can classify them into primary, secondary and also tertiary amine. It is based on the number of alkyl group ataupun aryl group attached to the nitrogen. So you can see dekat tengah ni we have nitrogen. So kalau kamu ada satu R atau alkyl ataupun aryl group, it is called as primary amine. So if you have 2 R attached to the same nitrogen here, it is secondary amine. And kalau ada 3, 1, 2, 3, so it is tertiary amine. Right, so this is example of primary amine. So ini nitrogen kamu, and this is one of the alkyl group. Okay, kita akan tengok alkyl ataupun aryl group. So next, this is example of your secondary amine because you have 1, 2. Okay, and then next kita ada 1, 2 and 3. So ini adalah tertiary amine. Right, so next kita akan tengok common name untuk most primary amine. They are named as alkyl amine. Kita akan tengok common name dengan IUPAC name. So let's say you have this structure and CH3 and H2. So you have here it is methylamine. Dia punya common name. And dia punya IUPAC name adalah methanamine. Okay, and then next, kalau ada 2 carbon, it is ethylamine. Okay, IUPAC name dia adalah ethanamine. So basically, kalau untuk carbon 1, 2, 3 ni, kita ambil nama depan dia met at propa. Belakang kita just tambah dengan amine. Okay, so untuk this 3 carbon, common name propylamine. Kalau IUPAC name dia adalah propanamine. Kita tengok this example pula. Ini the structure is dimethylamine. So ini adalah your amine punya structure and you have 1, 2. 2 methyl. So ini common name dia adalah dimethylamine. Okay, and kita akan tengok dia punya IUPAC name. This one we call it as N-methyl methanamine. So why kita namakan dia N-methyl? Nanti kita akan tengoklah why. So for the next structure you have CH2, CH3. Okay, so ini common name dia adalah methyl ethyl amine. And kenapa methyl ethyl? Because okay, this is your amine. You have methyl and ethyl attached to the amine. Okay, so itu common name. But for IUPAC name, kita akan follow this one. And at this nitrogen, kamu ada substituent methyl. So this one is N-methyl etanamin. So untuk IUPAC rules, first sama je, kita kena determine the longest carbon chain for NH group ataupun amino group. So always cari the longest chain that has NH ataupun amino group tu dulu, and then you akan give the lowest number to the carbon that bond to NH. Okay, so carbon that directly bond to amino group, that will be the lowest numbering. Next, you akan identify the substituent and indicate their position. So, kita akan tengoklah case by case kat mana substituent tu attached to. And then, name the compound. Untuk primary amine, okay, biasanya dekat nama tu, contoh propane, okay, kita akan gantikan. So, contoh kalau 3 carbon, biasanya kita akan panggil propane. And kalau ada amino group NH2, so kita akan gantikan suffix nama belakang tu. Kita akan gantikan nama belakang tu dengan amine. So dia akan jadi propanamin. Okay. Ataupun you can also use propan 1 amine. Okay. Ataupun 1 propanamin. Okay. So this one is much easier lah for you untuk naming. Right, so next example, so kita kena identify dulu the longest chain. So longest chain here yang directly bond to NH2. So the longest chain is 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the longest chain. And then kalau 4 carbon, it will be butanamine. And at the 3rd carbon here, you have methyl substituent. So, kalau kamu punya substituent is on the parent chain, kita boleh indicatekan dengan numbering. So, macam biasalah, dia akan jadi 3-methyl butanamine. Alright, so for this one, this is the parent chain. So, this one will be 2-butanamine and 2 here to indicate the position of amino group. Alright, so next one, kita ada this one is the longest chain, ada 5 carbon. And you have methyl at the 2nd carbon and NH2 is at the 3rd carbon. So this one, the naming will be 2-methyl 3-pentanamine. Okay, penta sebab 5 carbon. Okay, so next kita tengok this example. Okay, so for secondary dengan tertiary amine, kita akan namakan the Okay, kalau tadi kita tengok how to name primary amine, now kita nak tengok how to name secondary and tertiary amine. Okay, so untuk these two, secondary and tertiary amine, they will be named as N-substituted derivative of primary amine. So, maksudnya kalau secondary, instead of dia ada NH2 kan, so dia ada 2 substituent alkyl. Okay, so ini secondary. So kalau tertiary pula, you have so for tertiary you have tiga-tiga ni adalah alkyl group ataupun aryl group. Okay. Alright, so let's have a look at this example. So, identify this is secondary amine. So, N bonded to 1, 2 alkyl group. So, this is secondary amine. Okay, so untuk secondary amine, kamu nak identify the longest chain, kita tengok dulu. So this nitrogen, kalau dekat bahagian kita ke atas, ini hanya ada satu carbon. So dekat bahagian sini hanya ada hydrogen, and at another end, so dekat bond sini you have CH2, CH2, CH3. So kamu ada 1, 2, 3 carbon. So obviously this one will be your longest chain untuk jadi parent chain. So naming dia, parent name akan jadi propanamine because you have 3 carbon, the longest chain. So what happened here, CH3 ni akan jadi methyl substituent. So this CH3 is directly attached to nitrogen. Okay, so kita akan namingkan dia N-methyl untuk indicate that this methyl is directly bonded to nitrogen. Okay, so nama dia akan jadi N-methyl propanamine. Alright, so next kita tengok this example. So masih lagi secondary amine. So nitrogen, you have bond to hydrogen, CH2, CH3, and another bond with CH2, CH2, 1, 2, 3, 4 carbon, CH2, 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 CH3. Okay, so obviously the longest carbon chain adalah this one. Okay, yang ini tak dikira lah, because this one hanya 2 carbon. So dia akan jadi substituent ethyl. So dekat mana ethyl tu? Dekat position nitrogen. So kita tak boleh numberkan dia, kita akan indicate dengan N-ethyl butanamine. Okay, because you have put 4 carbon. Right. Okay, so untuk this example, so let's have a look at this nitrogen. So kamu ada 1, 2, 3 alkyl group attached to the nitrogen. So this one dia akan jadi tertiary amine. Okay, tertiary amine because you have 3 alkyl group. This is tertiary amine. Why? Because you have 3 alkyl group attached to the nitrogen, and the longest chain adalah this one, and you have 4 carbon. So dia akan jadi butanamine, and the rest of the alkyl, methyl ni dia akan jadi substituent that directly bond to nitrogen. So the naming will be N-dimethyl. Kenapa dimethyl? Because you have 2 methyl here. And kenapa N-N? Okay, so let's say you have this example. So kamu ada 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carbon, longest chain. And dekat second carbon here, so ini methyl, ini pun methyl. So bila kamu namingkan dia, untuk indicate the position of substituent, kamu akan letak 2 dimethyl. Dimethyl 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It will be dimethyl hexane. Okay, so sama juga dengan this case, both methyl is directly attached to nitrogen. So kita akan indicatekan dia dengan N, dimethyl butanamine. Right, so next let's have a look at this example. So the longest chain is yang ini, 1, 2, 3 carbon, and the rest will be, this one will be methyl, and this one akan jadi substituent ethyl. Okay, so bila kita nak tulis dia punya nomenclature, naming untuk this amine, okay, the parent name will be propanamine, and you have methyl dengan ethyl. So which one come first? E dahulu ikut alphabet and then baru M. So that is why N-ethyl, N-methyl propanamine dia punya name. Right, so next let's have a look at this example. And then the longest carbon will be this one, and the rest will be the substituent. Okay, so for this one, position dia adalah pada N, dan karbon 4. So, bila nak tulis nama, dia akan jadi N4-dimethyl pentanamine. So, kamu boleh juga tulis belakang ni pentanamine. Right, so next example. Okay, so next let's have a look at this example. So, for this structure, naming dia akan jadi, the longest chain adalah carbon 6. Okay, cyclic ni. Cyclohexanamine, because this is directly bonded to nitrogen. Okay, so this one will be your substituent, which is N-methyl. So nama penuh dia adalah N-methyl cyclohexanamine. Okay, so untuk this case, kalau kamu ada multiple functional group selain daripada amino group, so kita akan refer to the priority list. So kalau ada carboxylic acid, itu yang akan jadi parent, and the amino group, this one NH2, dia akan jadi substituent. Okay, so untuk this case, the parent will be this ethanoic acid, and NH2 here will be the substituent. So the numbering will be carbon 1, 2. The naming will be 2-amino ethanoic acid. Alright. Okay, so untuk next example, we have this structure, and ini adalah phenol. So phenol, it has higher priority compared to amino group. Okay, so this one, dia punya naming akan jadi 3-amino, sebab 1, 2, 3, carbon 3 ada NH2, 3-amino phenol. Okay, so untuk aromatic amine, okay, aromatic amine, most of them adalah derivative kepada aniline. So aniline ni kita dah pernah jumpa before this dalam chapter benzene, and this is the structure of aniline. Okay, so aniline is if you have NH2 bonded to benzene ring. So this is the IUPAC name, and this one is the common name. Right, so bila kita cakap tentang derivative, so untuk derivative of aniline, so if you have, this is your structure of aniline, so derivative kepada aniline tu, you have other substituent attached to it. So contoh, in this case you have CH3, 1, 2, 3 at third carbon, so you have this methyl. So this one naming dia akan jadi 3-methyl aniline. If you have 1, 2, 3 bromo attached to this benzene ring, attached to this aniline. Okay, so ini adalah aniline. If you have 1, 2, 3 bromo, dia akan jadi tri-bromo aniline, and the position will be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Dia akan jadi 2, 4, 6 tri-bromo aniline. Okay, so next let's have a look. Contoh, kalau kamu ada dekat position of, so let's say this example, kamu ada methyl attached to this nitrogen, so this one akan jadi N-methyl aniline, dia masih lagi aniline. And if you have this structure, so you can see ini adalah structure of aniline, but you have other thing substitute dekat position of hydrogen just now. Okay, so hydrogen tu kita substitute with something, so we have here N-diethyl aniline, because you have 2 ethyl substitute at this nitrogen. Okay, right, so next example, kalau kamu ada aniline, and then you have methyl and ethyl, so the naming will be N-ethyl and methyl aniline. So ikut alphabet. Okay, Okay, so for this example, ini kamu punya nitrogen and this is secondary amine. So untuk secondary amine, ini adalah the longest chain which is 5 carbon, so the naming akan jadi pentanamine. Since nitrogen is attached to the third carbon, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so the third carbon baru bond to nitrogen, so dia adalah 3 pentanamine. And the rest will be substituent. So 2,4-dichloro sebab dia dekat parent chain. Okay. And dekat nitrogen you have methyl, so dia akan jadi N-methyl 3-pentanamine. Ini adalah tertiary amine. So this one will be aniline, because you have benzene ring here. So the parent chain will be this one, aniline, and the rest will be substituent. So ini kamu ada methyl, and this one you have isopropyl. So the naming akan jadi ikut alphabet. So ingat alphabet, kita akan consider cyclo, neo, and iso, CNI. So these three kita akan ikut alphabet. So I come first and then baru M. So it will be N-isopropyl and then N-methyl aniline. Next example you have, so ini tertiary amine and the longest carbon chain untuk parent chain will be this clopentanamine, because you have 5 carbon here. And this one will be substituent isopropyl, and ini pun akan jadi substituent methyl. So naming of this structure, dia akan jadi 2-chloro sebab this is attached to the second carbon. You have at second carbon, so at second carbon you have chloro, 2-chloro, and isopropyl and methyl cyclopentanamine. Have a look at this example. So untuk this example, the naming will be 4-bromo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4-bromo, N-methyl pentan 2-amine ataupun 2-pentanamine. Okay, naming dia akan jadi 4-bromo N-methyl 2-pentanamine. Right, so next example kita ada tertiary amine juga. So for this one, okay, so structure dia should be ini benzene ring lah. This is your aniline, and then you have substituent ethyl, methyl, and then dekat this carbon 1, 2, 3, 4, carbon keempat you have ethyl. So this naming of this structure will be N4-diethyl. You have ethyl, and methyl aniline.